think you mentioned this in your presentation, and there's a known problem with using machine learning with biases, as obviously you deal with, and certainly in the areas of people and diversity and so forth. But I think that we're going to hear later in the week, in fact, from a senior strategist on digital asset management systems, how you can use certain systems to combat these biases. But how are you dealing with that? I think most smaller companies are using algorithms and machine learning that have been created by others. How are you dealing with the biases that sometimes are built into these early systems?
That's a great question. And
I apologize, I threw that one in. I think
no,
you all
no,
have.
no, it's fine. It's fine because really it gets kind of to the crux of where we are. We've tried to use so many commercial tools to the point now it doesn't really serve us, right? And that's really where it comes down to, well, why doesn't it serve us? Usually when we talk to the companies, it's because they didn't have the training data um, available, right? Like we know, some of the companies we spoke to, they go to the larger companies, like the big three. They go and they might license content from them, but they still don't have enough diversity. So we've really gotten to the point where we realize, well, we probably have to create our own models, right? We have to really start to create our own solution, and it really just kind of turn into an R&D type of situation where, me, for example, I'm a technology person, so I'm excited about all these things, right? Like for GANs, for example, where you can create your own content, or NFTs. I tried to use GANs to, create artwork versions of our images so that we can sell it as NFTs. And then, the first ones I try out, I have like this black woman with this big, beautiful afro. And then I use this GAN to transform it, and it turns it into a white guy with blue eyes, right? Like it's like another example where it doesn't really work for us. So we get to the point where we realize, all right, the industry is moving. It's almost like stock. Stock has had issues with diversity for a long time, but it still continues to go and grow. Where we're like, well, maybe right now we just need to focus on being part of the solution and creating our own models. That's really where we are right now. To answer your
We
question.
have we have a really good follow-up question to that from the audience. I think it's from Amos Struck. What does Gerald think about the new approach of Shutterstock licensing their content for AI uses, just as a backup question? So I think we heard the other day that Shutterstock is now enabling people to license their content to build, for these AI uses.
Yeah, and that's a good question. I think it's a natural progression. It makes sense. It makes sense for the company. I think for us, we we essentially want to be in control of how our content is licensed. So we wouldn't participate in anything like that, or probably submit any content to that, because we wouldn't have control over how it's used. Like even with our licenses, when we talk to companies, they're similar to stock, where you say your images can't be used for anything illicit or anything like that. We have similar things when it comes to bias and protections that we try to put in place to avoid discrimination. So all that to say, it makes perfect sense for Shutterstock to do that. It's a natural transition, especially considering all the images that they have, or all the content, because not just images that they have. It's a natural transition, and it makes sense. It's just not for us. It's not anything that we would participate in at the moment, just because of our goals and our direction, in the direction that we're heading.